Welcome to Five Numbers. Tyson Banker with you, Bench Clear Media. I'm really excited to just get going here on another one of my rookie reports. This is my third year doing rookie reports for MLB. So getting the beginning of season 2022, pulled all this data for you, just kind of right in the mid-April time. And I'm going to go through it with no one better than my man, Ty. We're going to hit up this rookie report. I'm really excited for it. Before we do that, a couple side notes here. I'm really proud of the show you've been putting out, your Chasing Cardboard TV show. If you guys haven't seen it, it's all over our page. We got to go subscribe to Chasing Cardboard on YouTube. Ty, just give us a little spiel about your show and what inspired you to do it, and I think it's simply awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Most importantly, you're in episode 3.
There we go.
We filmed that together. I can't wait for folks to see our interaction. I think it was really good. No, it's an American Picker-esque type show where we go around looking at collections and we chase cardboard like some of us hobbyists always do. And Matt Coleman is an unbelievably talented guy who has made it TV worthy. And that was the point. So
it's awesome, man. I'm excited for the season. Just the first episode was awesome. It's exactly kind of as you described, very Pickers-esque. Seeing the negotiation, seeing the conversation with the guys. I think it's what people want to see. It's fun to see that side of the hobby and just kind of see the true collecting that you're projecting. I think that's awesome. I also want to give a little shout out. My son's 7th birthday tomorrow, so got a big day for the big 7-year-old, and also early happy Mother's Day to all those mothers out there. You guys do a lot of great work. Big weekend for you guys. We appreciate it. But let's dive into the MLB rookie report here, Ty. So I broke it down to top 20. I think it's kind of the staples are still in there overall. But when we look at some movement, I put in there this time, so I have more data. I put in some peaks. So you can kind of see, okay, that guy's at 200, but his peak was 600. You can really see how that market was hot in 2020, 2021, and kind of where we're at now. And we can kind of talk about some guiding questions again about that, about maybe what's happening with Ultra Modern, how we will kind of adjust that in terms of the collecting. But we'll go ahead and start at the bottom here. Ty, do you have anything you want to open with?
No, I'm excited. This is one of my favorite things you do every year is this. So,
all right. So 28 to 16, we round out. So it goes from bottom to top there. So Acuna just barely makes it right now at $89 for his PSA 10. So how this reads straight across, I got his rookie year, the product he's in, the card number, the value, then the peak, and then the peak time that happened, and his pop report. So you can see Acuna is a big reason why he's barely in the top 20 with his over 20,000 PSA 10 pop report. All in all, just looking at this list, it's kind of the little resurgence of our Arenado. He's kind of had a pretty, good at the end of year last year. The Cardinals playing pretty well this year. Lindor's playing great out of the gate this year, so he might start to climb a little bit. The Mets are playing really well. I know Ohtani's kind of sitting in there. I did switch Ohtani to top Series 2 because that's now been his most desired rookie card. People actually did adjust to making that the first rookie being his Series 2 out of tops. And so we've kind of gone from there. But what kind of stands out from this 5 for you, Ty?
Yeah, so I guess real quick, your pricing is based on last few days, right? So this is like early May 2022 pricing.
Yeah, I'd actually probably say a little bit in April. I pulled the data about probably 8 days ago, but It's still, I'd say it's pretty consistent.
Yeah. I actually thought Ohtani would be higher than this, so that's my first observation. And I love seeing Lindor and Arenado in here. Like both those guys, to me, those are screaming buys.
I think so too. I mean, Lindor had so much momentum going into his Mets debut, and everybody it's a very common when guys move free agency, that first year is usually rough. It just usually getting acquainted with that new system, that new place they're playing, new division, new pitchers. There's a lot of things they have to adjust to, and he's playing phenomenal right now. I mean, the Mets have been playing great. He's a big part of it. So I do think Lindor, especially in that market, if that team's successful, that's going to jump up. He might get kind of back to that way he was pre-2021 when a lot of people were chasing his rookie card when he signed with the Mets. I agree with you. Ohtani is low. I think some of it, especially that, his pop report's pretty low for top Series 2 compared to update. So it's kind of a good little sneaky buy. A lot of people have kind of been gravitating towards his Chrome rookies all in all, I believe, because this is still the paper. I haven't convinced myself yet, but I'm pretty close to switching to Topps Chrome for our evaluation.
Yeah, I could see why you want to do that. I'm glad you put the peak on here because, when you go trade a stock, you look at the 52-week high, and that kind of tells you where the stock could go. If it kind of everything aligns again, it can hit that peak.
Right.
450 to 124, that's a wide gap.
Right.
It makes you feel like there's just a lot of upside. And then you factor in there's a pop of 1,060, which in this day and age is just incredibly low. Like
exactly.
Lindor, that is just a massive opportunity.
I 100% agree. And that's, the same time, Acuña's will never get back to 311 because of that 20,000.
There you go.
I think that sweet spot for that 2018 update group is kind of like 150 to 200 on the max for that, with that kind of, market cap.
Will you allow me to buy one while we're sitting here? Because I'm gonna go snag one. You've already convinced myself to go buy another one.
Go buy another Lindor?
I'm doing it right now.
Go do it. All right. Sounds good. That's what we're doing. We're helping people.
That's right. I better do it before the masses go jump in on this.
Yeah.
There it is. Right. My gosh. It's right there to buy. I can buy it right now for 125.
Beauty. Do it. Or if you don't, do it for me and I'll pay you after.
It is purchased.
Perfect. The other note, Tatis was 21st, so Tatis was right about 85. He's just kind of been jumping between 85 and 95, so he just kind of missed the list when I pulled it. Obviously, he's injured right now as well, and he's a big player in this with the Pop Report group of the 18 and 19. So he is limited, but at the same time, he will probably creep into the top 20 again if he comes back healthy and starts doing what we expect him to do.
Yeah.
All right. So here's 11 through 15. So in here we got Wander. So Wander's in this realm, and obviously that's a little bit because he's still at the time I pulled this, he was at a pop of 337. So he was hitting at 163. His peak's 521, which you can kind of laugh at that one a little bit. That's probably I think that was the first or second one sold for his PSA 10. You got Juan Soto's on here, a really polarizing group with him, Harper, and Franco. They're very big players right now in the league, and seeing when they're at in the 15 to 11 range is kind of shocking a bit. But Freddie Freeman, just kind of comment on his peak was 440, and that was just in this March when he signed with the Dodgers. He got a couple big sales. I think some Dodger fans saying they had to get some because his pop is relatively low. Great player, big market, but at the same time, I think that was obviously an overbuy. He's down to 203 already. Rizzo's playing amazing right now for the Yankees, so he's one to kind of watch a little bit. It's been nice to see a little resurgence for him. Hitting a lot of home runs. That team's playing well. Him and Judge are both playing extremely well. Who do you like on this list, or what surprises you in this group?
I'm still surprised with how low Harper is. I'm just, I don't know, maybe a Harper fanboy. I feel like after an MVP season, he would be a little higher than that. It's not a high pop report. I mean, you and I both know we're going to get back on in 6 months, and Wander Franco is going to have 2 more digits in front of that pop count. Yep. Right. It doesn't matter what PSA is going to charge. That card is going to be graded like we've never seen graded before.
Right.
But Rizzo to me is the one here that looks pretty tasty. Yeah. Because I mean that 2011 product line in general is just tough because you got to overpay for it because of Trout.
Right.
So you're not going to see a lot of Rizzos out there.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll talk about another 2011 guy at the end of the show that's kind of my guy that I think should be on this list. But Rizzo, I agree, 2011, pop of 655. If the Yankees are playing well and he continued, he puts together a 45, 50 homer year. It might be a little bit, oversell there, but I think that's possible. 40 is possible for sure with what he can do. Harper is always weird. And I think the really interesting thing, Ty, about Harper is his peak is 285. You can look at these peaks we have for all these guys. They're all well in the 350 to 450 range, and he's not even over 300 for his peak. So it's just been consistently right there for him with the relatively low pop. So, you look at his numbers. Mike and I talked about him a little bit, just kind of looking at his numbers a couple weeks on the fly with Mike and the other Ty, and we talked about how his numbers. Yeah, his other numbers just don't quite get to Hall of Fame status still, and he's playing pretty well. So it's gonna have to be another MVP or another championship from bring championship to Philadelphia, something like that substantial could really make the needle move. But otherwise, he's kind of stuck here, I think. Even though I'm a Philly, he's undervalued for his talent.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the top 10 here. So 6 through 10. So we still, Yachty's in here as the Hall of Famer. Verlander is kind of the Hall of Fame, guys at the top
right
there. Verlander's come back pretty strong, looks great. It's been just killing my Mariners. Mookie, really struggling. Talked about him on the flagship podcast with Rob a couple weeks ago. He really hasn't been the same since that hip. The hip's really been hindering him. So if he can get something going, but you can see his peak of 1,000, he's down to 275. Vlad's playing pretty well as usual. He's kind of the one that's just been really consistent, kind of as advertised. DeGrom's hurt again. You can see his 235 to 900 peak, but he sounds like some promising. The Mets are playing well, and they have some promise and some hope for him to come back healthy. So, who do you like in this list, or what kind of stands out with these five? It's very kind of top to bottom, old to young there.
Yeah, it is. This is a tough one. Like if I think my first reaction is Mookie Betts is a sell or hold at best. I agree with you. You watch him and he's just not the same player.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. He has a relatively high pop count and he's still pretty high priced.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for Verlander. I think obviously he's a shoe-in for the Hall of Fame. 357 seems a little high, but if I'm going to buy somebody on this list, it's going to be Molina.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Molina's a steal. I think I'm really just kind of every time I put together these lists, just the Verlanders, the Scherzers, those guys have just been doing it for a long time. I mean, Scherzer's still relatively dominant at his age. It's just these guys are longtime greats. I mean, Yachty is too, but just that whole catcher thing. How much of a great will he be to people's eyes down the line? Even though I think guys like you and I have watched Yachty play for a long time, we may value that quite a bit. But I'm not sure how the people that didn't watch him play will feel.
The key there is pop 290.
Yeah.
When you're buying like 0.5% of the population, when you buy a rookie like that, that means something for a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that one thing we have to kind of understand, to me, when we look at this 2018, 19, 20, this kind of high print run, this crazy pop numbers of Acuna and stuff, that Vlad no was not a short print per se, but 443 is a great pop for 2019 product. And so, I had a couple of those PSA 10s. I sold one. I still have one. I wish I had them both. I think that's just a great, solid pop report card for a Vlad rookie. And it's way better. His update rookies, him throwing it. It's not a great picture. His no numbers, the picture you like, swinging the bat, all that kind of stuff. So I really think that Vlad benefited from that, kind of sneak him into series 2 of 2019.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's crazy that we're saying 4,400 is a good pop count, but it's so true. Like that. Right. And you look at some of like the late 90s stuff when it's numbered to 4,000 or 5,000 on some of those insert and parallels, like that's a really good SP, right? Like, definitely. 4,400 is great. I completely agree with you.
100%. And then on your first episode of your show, you had a gold DeGrom. Has anything happened with that card yet, or do you still have that one?
I do. It came back a 9.
That's still pretty good for a gold. I mean, not too bad.
Which I'm happy with. I'm totally happy with. I'm rooting for that guy to come back strong.
Yeah, definitely. He is an elite pitcher and he's pitching, but a gold Topps Chrome rookie is very, very valuable. It's a very nice find you found on your show.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, and the top 5. So we've kind of run through this pretty quickly here. So it's a good little quick rundown of the top 20. So you still got Mike Trout at the top here. So he's at 2,775 is where he's sitting at now. His peak was over 7,700 back in January 2021. Pujols is kind of trailing behind a bit, 2,250. I still think that's a nice price for him with a pop of 236 compared to Trout. I think there's some really strong arguments that Trout's been overvalued for a long time, and I think that Pujols arguments makes it pretty strong. You got Cabrera down there, who's got his 3,000 hit, also a pretty low pop. Clayton Kershaw, and then Max Scherzer with the other kind of strong power arms. And Kershaw's been pretty good too so far for this year. What do you like of the top 5? It's been pretty consistently this top 5 for the last few updates.
Yeah. I mean, I love this top 5. I love it. I mean, for $7,000, you can get one of each of these. And I would feel really good about putting that $7,000 in. The guy that I don't think belongs necessarily at number 3 is Kershaw.
Right.
I would take 2 Scherzers over a Kershaw right now and feel really comfortable.
Yeah.
We've been saying this for a long time, but I really feel convinced that Albert Pujols is the best buy possible right now in baseball.
Yeah.
It's just definitely stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel strongly that I prefer Scherzer and Verlander probably over Kershaw. I mean, just on longevity, I think Kershaw probably had a better peak, but I think that Scherzer and Verlander have done it longer, and it just to me that's just kind of my feel on it. I agree. some argue Pujols is one of the top hitters in a long time, like he just hands down. So I think that 236 pop just screams like, holy moly, that's awesome. Like that'd be a great card to have. There's only 236 of them for sure.
Yeah. To that point, I was on Omar's show, Retro Hoops Collectibles, and I think it comes out tomorrow. We were talking about just that 2000, 2001, 2002 era, and a lot of people think I can just go back and grab 2001 product and go grade it. And the thing is, you can't, because a lot of the cards that you want to get, like the 2001, come out of sets, box sets that are bricked. Mm-hmm. And you cannot get PSA 10s out of those brick sets. And so that pop count for any of those rookies for Pujols is not going to go higher. And to your point, like, the dude's in the top 5 of basically every good hitting category of all time.
Right.
Like, it's not even a debate. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he might be one of the best hitters we've seen in our generation. And he's got a pop count of 236. And like that, just go buy the card.
Yeah. Well, definitely. And I even think about I think to me, it's kind of that Ben Roethlisberger thing where he's still kind of playing and not playing at a great level. So people aren't super interested, so like when he's gone, then we're going to really know. I think so. I kind of like, while he's just kind of like, just kind of softly playing right now, not playing to a high level. I think it's kind of a good time to get him now, because when he does retire, I think it's going to go to a place you won't be able to reach it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
It's really interesting, though, when you look at Miguel Cabrera there, 730 right now. He had a peak of 1,300, just seeing how that he's a really good indicator, because nothing's changed for Miguel Cabrera. He's a really good indicator of how inflated the market was at that point in 2021. So that's just a good point. Yeah. Just seeing like that's all, it's double. So like the whole market's come down almost half on a guy that's career didn't change at all. And he's 3,000 hits now. Even it's gotten better for him since then. So
right,
find that really interesting.
Yeah, I will say the last couple of weeks I had a bunch of Miguel Cabrera stuff that I got in collections. It started to move pretty quickly after he got to 3,000, which makes sense. Of course, people are interested again.
I've seen a lot of second year and different colors been selling pretty hot, pretty quickly around Facebook and different places for sure. All right, let's get a couple of just questions to close us out, Ty.
Real quick, what do you think about Trout at 2,700? Do you feel comfortable with that price? Because he dipped at 21? And we were telling everybody, go buy at 21, 2,000. Yeah. And obviously he's having a great season so far. Would you buy at 27?
No, I think closer to 21 I would. I think 27 I'm still a little bit leery, because his pop is still, it's higher than Vlad's. Like, it's not, he's got a relatively high pop. He is, the overall the best player in baseball, but you still have the injury concerns. Like, he's already got, he escaped an injury scare already this year. Just kind of, to me, it's just a little bit too much. I just think even at 2,100, it's a little bit nervous for me at that level. 2,700 for sure. I look when he's 500 more than Albert Pujols, who's a first ballot Hall of Famer. It scares me a bit. So I would say no. And mostly for me, it's a no because of the pop. I still think he's a phenomenal player. Just that pop doesn't really entice me.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you?
I struggle. I still think he's going to end up being the best all-around player of our generation. It's not even the question to me right now.
Right.
So it's like, do we see it dip? If it dips, it's because the market's dipping at this point, not because Trout's doing anything wrong. Like, then it becomes just a wait and see and go grab it when the market kind of comes back. But I almost gravitate towards maybe going and grabbing like an SGC Trout for a little bit better price. I can get a 9.5 for 1,200. Yeah. You can get an SGC 10 for, below 2,000. Maybe a way to play it. I don't know.
Yeah. I think my logic, and this may be flawed just because of my memory, but I look at, they put up some numbers of, Vlad Jr. versus Vlad Sr. and Vlad Jr. is already slightly ahead of his dad in a lot of categories at this point in his career. And we know that Vlad Sr. is a phenomenal baseball player.
Yeah.
And Vlad Jr.'s pop is lower than Trout. And right now he is 1/20th of the price. So, like, how do you compare that to like Vlad Guerrero is on a trajectory of being a Hall of Fame trajectory, but Mike Trout has a lot of injuries. He's had some, absences and whatnot, and he's at a higher pop. So like, I'm just not seeing why he's so high to begin with.
Well, I mean, he's on track to break just about Mantle-like numbers, right? I mean,
Right.
it's not fair to compare Vladimir Guerrero 3 years into his career,
For
4 years
sure.
into his career to, Mike Trout. At least I don't think so.
Right.
And we know Trout has a good 5 years left, barring any catastrophic injury.
Yep.
Yeah, it's tough one. It's a tough one.
It's more of like, I totally agree that Trout should be way more, but it's like 20 times more. Like where's that line of like the rookie cards that we're valuing? Like, cause he's been head and shoulders of everybody in rookie cards for forever, for, 5-6 years, and rightfully so. That's my only hang up with the pop report being what it is for him, how much above everyone he's at. That's kind of like, if you buy it, where's it going to go? Like,
yeah. I think you have to see something else with Trout. It's not just put up your insanely good numbers. If the Angels are going to perform and they make the playoffs, like all bets are off at that point to me. Because if Trout's in the playoffs and he's making like noise in the playoffs, and I mean, he's maybe like threatening to make the World Series and get a ring, 2,700 is going to seem really cheap.
Yeah, maybe so. But then the other, counterpoint is, what if they're having this great year in the playoffs, but then Ohtani wins MVP?
Yeah,
he's not even MVP on his, on his own team. Like, that's also something interesting to think about. Which Ohtani's doing crazy things, but another great game yesterday, pitching and hitting for him. But yeah,
Ohtani's the Ruth, and we got Trout as the Mantle.
Yep,
Mantle did just fine with his card values.
Yeah, they're just missing the rings is all.
That's exactly it.
So kind of to that point, the key questions I kind of had a couple for you. How do we adjust to ultra modern collecting? I think, I would just kind of see that line around 2017, 2018, maybe closer to 2018, where those pop reports have gotten out of control. We've seen the print runs of Wander. We see all these different guys that we want to value, that we want to collect. How do we adjust to that, to making it in terms of a value perspective, Ty? Like, what is your take on adjusting to this new type of collecting?
I would say do your best to simplify the way you collect and figure out what the market likes. And we kind of talked about this with the parallels, right? There's just so much noise when it comes to the types of parallels that it's just confusing as heck.
Oh yeah.
I think you just have to understand that the market generally like gravitates towards certain parallels. I mean, right. if you're collecting players and teams, it doesn't really matter. Collect what you like, right? Like that never changes. But when it comes to protecting your value, I think you have to adjust in the sense that you really have to narrow your focus. There was no issue with narrowing your focus 50, 60 years ago because you had one option. Now you really have to narrow your focus or you're just going to get slaughtered with just the oversaturation of the market.
Yeah. I think you guys point too on the parallels. You look at Bowman this year, there's like 5 or 6 different colors. There's now, there's red wave, there's red lava, there's red, so every time we see these new parallels, like you said, that just means more bases being printed because those parallels have them, the odds of pulling just makes the base cards come out more. I think people have to, just think about that. I think that we're gonna get to the point, if it keeps on this track, that base cards just won't be graded. They just not at all. Pop reports might stay low. Like, we might be surprised on Wander's pop because people might not grade them at $50 each if they're only going to sell for $100. The risk isn't worth it. So I think that, like you said, kind of going with parallels, going with obviously all that stuff doesn't change, but I think in terms of that, just grading base, selling it, getting 5X, that's long gone.
Yeah. I do think there is a shift taking place from paper to chrome.
Yeah.
I think we continue to see that. Prism kind of ushered that in. I think we're going to see it in baseball over the next couple of years, where chrome becomes like the bona fide flagship rookie. And the good thing about that is you're going to have fewer of them just by default because you have fewer cards in the boxes and, in the retail and in the hobby side. So the pop reports will be lower. And most of the time they're harder to grade too. So you're going to have lower pop counts on the Gem Mint side. So maybe that helps kind of, I don't know, the shift to base just becomes a shift from paper to chrome.
Yeah, maybe so. Definitely. Yeah, all things to consider for sure. And guys, make sure to put comments in the show notes here for sure. We'd love to hear what you think about all these key questions. Another one, they're really kind of a big one. I think this kind of tailors to Mike and I's conversation as well. With the way the game is changing, do you believe the ultra modern with high print runs and less likely Hall of Fame careers is in danger of being irrelevant long term? And I know that sounds like overwhelming question, but my point is obviously we know that print runs are higher. We just talked about that. Also, with guys like off days, 6-man rotations for pitchers, different things, guys aren't playing 162 very often at all. And so these running stats, like when you go look at like a Bryce Harper, who's a really good player, he's not really going to be hitting too many milestones as easily as we think. And so with that, like, how does that affect this era of baseball in terms of collecting? Is it going to be irrelevant? Are we just going to be like, well, that guy wasn't even close to Mantle. That guy wasn't even close to Frank Thomas. Like, what's going to happen with this era if it kind of goes that way?
I think it's really easy because we're in the hobby to think that like normal collectors are thinking about Hall of Fame.
Right.
And I don't think that's true. Like you think about us as kids, us as collectors, right? When Griffey was who Griffey was, or, Bonds was who Bonds was, and Bonds is even in the Hall of Fame, right? We weren't thinking about them being Hall of Famers. We were thinking about them as being like cultural icons. And so we did whatever we could to collect them. And I think that will be the case no matter what happens with print runs. Ronald Acuna, Mike Trout, Juan Soto, you name it, right? Fernando Tatis, those guys are going to be icons that will collect and will always have staying power. And I don't think that's really necessarily going to change their ability to be collected.
Okay. Yeah. So you're kind of saying basically their status in the current time of us loving the game, watching the game is going to carry enough to not make the long-term milestones as important.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of agree with that. And either way, it's like the current game you're watching when guys do things, a guy hits 3 home runs, you get a little bump in his price. All that stuff's going to happen too, because people, we're in an online world where things happen fast. People can post a card for sale anytime and just people run and jump at, streaky guys. I think that's still going to happen as well. But yeah, I'm with you. I think I just came with that question because I was actually pretty shocked when Mike and I were looking at some of the current guys' stats and how they really weren't on pace for anything Miggy's done. Like we couldn't find a guy that was going to, can that guy get to 3,000? Probably not. Can that guy get to 3,000? Probably not. It's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, you're right. It is. It is. And that I think it makes me want to go grab cards of those guys even more.
Yeah.
And then you just have to play the game a little bit differently with some of these newer guys. And not saying you can't go all in on them, but you just have to be aware that at a certain point, the big money might not go into certain guys if they don't have trajectory. It is what it is.
And it kind of like similar like the Tom Brady thing for football. Nobody's going to match Tom Brady's career. Nobody's probably going to match some of the things those vintage guys, those greats have done. So that's another thing. Those things are going to be staying power for them for a long time as well.
Yeah,
definitely. A lot of excitement around 2022. The products it's potentially a jam-packed class with Series 2, Chrome, and Update. There's probably 6 to 7 high quality prospects, and then also Seiya as well coming from Japan. How excited are you 2022, Ty? Are you extremely bullish? What are you feeling like, and maybe what are the ones you're looking forward to the most of the upcoming baseball products?
I think this is huge. I mean, this year, can you imagine if we would have had last year's draft class or rookie class in this year's releases, with considering the market the way it is? It would have been a total bloodbath. Like I think it would have just kicked the hobby right in the kneecaps, right? It'd been extremely tough. It's almost kind of saved the hobby to a certain extent because the basketball draft class wasn't good. Now we had a terrible draft class for the NFL, like hobby wise.
Yeah.
This MLB draft class it's just got a lot of hype, and I'm stoked, man. But it does depend on what Topps does. Yeah. We don't know what they're going to do with Series 2. We don't know what they're going to do with Update. Like if they leave some guys out, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they held Wander back a lot longer than we thought, my biggest thing is that I know a lot of people are bullish. I've seen some pretty good retail cases. I think retail is going to be a pretty strong play, especially for Chrome. But seeing the Chrome hobbies at 500 a box to start, that just scares me, just in the sense that this could be a jam-packed class, but just remind everybody that right now you can get a 2018 Topps Chrome box for 1,100, and we know what's in there. Otani's in there, Acuna's in there. Like, I just really worry about the coming out price on it. I think it's still going to be somewhat of a bloodbath, which I feel like that's that hobby dilemma we'll have, the potential of a lot of great guys Torque's playing really well. Bobby Witt hit his first home run the other day. Julio hit his first home run the other day. Some guys starting to come around. Seiya's in a little bit of a slump. It started hot. Like it could be jam packed. They could really push Seiya for that international feel. But I'm just worried about that coming out price, that kind of the staying power that it will have because it's coming in so hot. That's my only kind of reservation with it. And then obviously the print run aspect of it as well. Like how's that going to look for us? Is it going to be something we can only break? Like how many, it's not be really, I can't really do very many personal boxes at 500. So, and how are we going to approach this in terms of getting the product?
Yeah. A couple of thoughts on that. One, on the print run side and kind of the way the distribution channel is working. Fanatics is throttling that a little bit. You can already, you're hearing it from different, breakers that they're being capped. They're not being allowed to get certain stuff. They're not getting their 100 case orders anymore. I think that's shifting a little bit. Second, you make a really good point about retail. People tend to forget, like 3 or 4 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, when we would have bad years and product would sit on shelves, that would typically mean that Topps or Panini, usually Topps, would load up the next few products to get people to go back to retail to grab them. And that's how they would clear the shelves. I would not be surprised if we see some really good retail runs the next few releases to get people excited about it, because no one wants to see products sitting on shelves. Topps definitely doesn't want to see that because this is a bad aura.
And I don't know if it's just coincidence, but 2022 Bowman just hitting. I've seen quite a few retail cases opened of that and quite a few retail breaks of that. There is a ton of autos in color in retail this year. I feel like it's more than usual. So like kind of said, they're really stacking that retail side pretty high.
Yeah.
I think I watched I watched a one case was 40 blasters. There's 8 autos in that and 40 blasters.
Wow.
And there was 39, counting the autos, there was 39 color auto hits. So almost a hit per blaster. And
that's impressive.
If they're going to do something like that with Topps Chrome, then heck, you're right. It's going to be flying off the shelves.
Yeah.
If it's some type of hit rate like that, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
Well, real quick, put you on the spot. Give me what guys make Series 2. So you got like Torque, Bobby Witt, Julio. I don't know. I think Adley should have been like opening day, but got the injury. And then you have Seiya. Like who do you think is going to hit Series 2?
I think Witt makes Series 2, and I think Torque makes Series 2. I think they save Julio for update, and they probably save Seiya for update as well. I think they kind of couple those together. I think everyone knew Witt was coming. He's going to be on the opening day roster, so I think they planned for him in Series 2.
Right.
It's probably my heart talking there, not my head, but that's the way I think they played it. What about you?
I'd say I can probably agree with what you said. I think because Julio was a surprise. People thought that Julio would start down. I wouldn't be surprised if Adley was already kind of geared up and he's like in Series 2. They're like, but because they're just gearing that up. I actually think they're going to push Seiya for sure. I think just that international thing like they did with Otani, I could see them trying to make sure they get his cards in there because they want to sell to more markets than us. So I think Seiya's the one that I really feel is going to be for sure in Series 2 in Chrome. And then I do think a 2-2 split, like you said, is probably a reasonable expectation.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised either if they coupled Bobby Witt and Julio Rodriguez and put him in update. I mean, that is a strong couple rookies there to carry that product.
Yeah, for sure. It just is unfortunate. I really like to see Julio in Chrome, like not just Chrome update, because Chrome update, it's a tougher product to get. But yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right, let's kind of close this out. So of those guys we kind of talked about, who do you like to kind of crack maybe the top 20? I know it's kind of off the top of your head. I can kind of give you mine first if you'd like to kind of break it. I think Paul Goldschmidt's a bit underrated. Back to that 2011 topic. He's been playing really well. He's got really long stayed numbers in terms of what he's done with his career. And he's in a good market with the Cardinals. So I do like Paul Goldschmidt. He's right on the fringe. He's just behind Tatis right now at 21. Trey Turner, keep climbing with the Dodgers, being one of their best players. As long as he's healthy, he's putting up great numbers. And then I think one guy that's consistently just not liked in the hobby for a lot of reasons is Manny Machado. And he is just playing lights out right now. He has hit 2 more home runs tonight. Like I think Luzardo had like 8 Ks, gave up 3 hits. 2 of the hits were home runs to Machado. So he's playing really well. And then I just think Devers is always undervalued. Kind of 4 guys that kind of stand out to me.
Yeah. Yeah, those are good. I'm trying to think of who was in the top 20. Was Judge in the top 20?
He wasn't, but he's a one to watch. Judge he's sitting at, I have him right here. Hold on. I just saw his name. He's at just after Machado. So he's right about 28, 27.
Okay.
Right in that range.
Yeah. I mean, that's a no brainer to me. Aaron Judge is probably going to be in there if he keeps doing what he's doing. You know, a guy that I think is just severely underrated. I don't think he'll necessarily be in the top 20, but he's just going to always be underrated is Jose Ramirez.
Yeah. 100%.
It is what it is, right? He just doesn't seem like a very likable guy, or at least a very hobby-friendly guy. Maybe that's what it is. He's not a guy that I people gravitate towards, but he's absolutely underrated. I'd be interested to see if Jordan squeezes in there. He's having a pretty good year.
Yeah.
You know, is he in the top 30?
He's not. He's super cheap. He's like $30 because he's in that tough print run product and DH only guy, but I think that he's going to start climbing a bit. I think his color and his stronger cards are doing a bit better, but yeah, he's just in a tough product to climb. Like him and Bo Bichette aren't going to go anywhere with their 2020 Series 1. It's just going to be really tough. But yeah, those guys are definitely good as well. You know, Bueller's pitching well. He's a guy to watch for like a pitcher as well. Some guys to think about, but definitely.
What about Olsen? What year was his rookie? I don't know.
Yeah, I got Olsen right here. He's in 2017. Okay. He's sitting at 65, so he's about 6 spots out of the top 20. He only has a pop of 45.
Wow.
Yeah. So a guy to think about there.
Yeah, I mean he's in Atlanta market's not exactly great, but as we know with Freeman.
Yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting list, to say the least. Interesting list for sure. But
good work, dude. Your stats are just awesome.
Hey, behind the numbers, man. That's what I like to do. Get back there and crunch it out, and talk to people that are knowledgeable about the hobby like yourself.
Oh, that's great.
Well, thanks for joining me, Ty. Appreciate it as usual.
Yep.
Guys, make sure to put comments in the show notes there. Don't forget to follow me at @numbers_behind. And again, check out Chasing Cardboard. Support Ty's TV series that we're all excited about, Bench Clear.
Cool.
All right. Have a good one.